Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Umineko When They Cry, episode 7. So last time, another big episode or another big part, we finally saw how Beatrice Castiglione, the original Beatrice, arrived here in Rokkenjima. It was, yes, in a submarine, and we also saw how the gold got in Rokkenjima. It was brought by basically them, the Italians, right? So let us continue and let's see what happened today. Let's do this. Lieutenant Yamamoto.
イタリア人たちは、この黄金のことを本土へ報告しないことを望んでいます。
我が国に横領されたくないからであろうな。
彼は何と？
日本が黄金を横領するのを恐れているから、報告されたくないのだろうと言っている。
I mean, isn't it obvious though? Yeah.
少尉はむしろイタリア本国に知られることを恐れているわ。
Oh wait, they actually stole that gold from Italy? Okay.
私たちにとって今の祖国は連合国の傀儡政権。彼らに知られれば黄金は返還することになる。
So you don't really have any good sides here. At least for them, I mean. Their own government or their own, or their allies, I mean, the Japanese.
しかしそれは私たちの敵に黄金を渡すようなもの。
They'd come all this way to make sure that the gold didn't fall into enemy hands. They needed to hide it from that puppet government until their homeland could be truly restored.
後ろ宮、イタリア人たちに提案せよ。
They're gonna ask, let's say, half of it.
我々は協力を申し出たいとな。
協力とは？
イタリア人たちの言い分はこうであろう。彼らはその黄金を祖国に知られることなく隠したいわけだ。しかし、この島から運び出そうとすれば、輸送船を手配せねばならなくなる。そうすれば本土に知られ、さらにはイタリア本国にも知られることとなる。
そうなります。つまり、あの黄金はもう六軒島からは運び出せない。
Their mission must have been to hide the gold in absolute secrecy until the day of their homeland's restoration. Later on, several plausible rumors would circulate about how Nazi Germany also moved much of its secret wealth to certain hidden areas in South America just prior to the collapse. It was a very natural conclusion to reach. That submarine was their only method of transporting the gold in secrecy, and it's become completely useless. They can't fully stop the water from seeping in, and it'll probably sink completely before much longer. There's no longer any way for them to transport the gold in secrecy. In other words, their mission had ended in failure here in the Far East. So just how is Lieutenant Yamamoto proposing that we assist him?
この六軒島基地は誰も知らぬ秘密基地だ。近隣の島民たちはこの島を不吉な無人島と信じて近寄りもしない。言っている意味がわかるか、後ろ宮。
Okay, so basically he's saying that why not just put the gold here on this island, right?
彼は何と？
前にも話した通り、この六軒島基地は誰にも知られていない。見ての通り、戦略価値は何もなく、上層部にもすでに忘れられてる。注意は、この島に黄金を隠してはどうかと提案したいみたいだ。
He wants it to become Yamamoto's treasure. Beatrice quickly translated this and told Lieutenant Angelo. He began discussing something rapidly with his subordinates. They didn't look happy. Japan may have been their ally, but they probably didn't want to leave the gold for reconstructing their motherland in Asian hands. Still, it was hard to imagine any other option for them.
激しく議論しているわ。 他に手はないという者もいるし、それでも祖国に忠誠を尽くすべきだという者もいる。少尉は板挟みになってるわ。
The final order given to them by their fallen homeland was to hide the gold. However, by now, there was no way for that order to be carried out successfully. If the mainland or their own homeland found out the gold would probably be confiscated or be confiscated by the wrong people from their point of view. If they really wanted to carry out their homeland's orders faithfully, Lieutenant Yamamoto's proposal was extremely reasonable. Though he couldn't understand their words, he seemed to realize how divided they were.
我々が協力すれば、あの黄金を厳重に隠すことができるぞ。幸いなことに、廃棄された地下壕が長々とこの島の地下を横断している。
この島の地下に黄金を隠して埋めれば、誰にも発見できないと言ってる。
現実的な申し出だと議論してるわ。でも、日本人の手を借りるのに抵抗を感じてるみたい。
議論が難航しているようです。
議論の余地などあるのか、イタリア人。我々の協力なくば、あの黄金は隠せんぞ。まさかいつまでも波打ち際に積み上げておくわけにもいくまい。
アンジェロ少尉は黄金のことを知る人間を最小で抑えたいみたい。
Okay, what is this?
日本人は信用できないけど、山本中尉の申し出が今は最善と見てるみたいよ。
So what is his plan? He wants to minimize the number of people who know about the gold?
でも、いぶかしがってるわ。
I mean, you're saying this, of course he's gonna be suspicious.
何を
10トンの黄金を隠すという労力の提供と守秘義務を彼らが本当に無償で提供してくれるのかと。
I mean, this is obvious, man. Of course they would want compensation. No one is gonna do this for free. Yes.
五分と五分だ。
I told you he's gonna ask for half. 50%.
注意、それはまさか。
That's a lot.
あの黄金の半分を我々によこせ。それを手間賃に残りの半分を厳重に隠してやろう。
半分をよこせと言ってる。
The instant Beatrice translated that sentence, Lieutenant Angelo slammed his hands on the desk and stood up. Of course they're not gonna agree to that, right? Obviously. Instead of flinching, Lieutenant Yamamoto, true to his boast of once being a thug who everyone feared, actually looked even more relaxed and confident than he had previously.
本来なら断りようのない話だ。
The thing is, for Yamamoto here, he has the advantage. He has this place, Rokinjima, right? He has more men. They have 30 men, and then, much more better, right? Much more, let's say, healthy. While on the other side, they got like, what, 10 people? I don't know if that's including Beatrice. And pretty much because of their journey, right? Like, even though it's been like, what, 2 weeks of rest? I mean, you can say that they're still not 100%, so... If a fight would break out, the lesser number of people would lose.
8割を要求してもおかしくない。
I mean, Yamamoto is correct here. They could pretty much just force them. They could even say like, we want 95% of it, or else we would just dispose of you. Yeah, no one knows this place, right?
それを敬意を表して五分と五分にしようと提案しているのだ。
I mean, as scummy as what he's doing, He's taking advantage of the situation right now.
これは我々だけに有意な話ではない。イタリア人たちが外部にこのことを漏らせば、全ての黄金は日本かイタリアに接収されるだろう。我々には1円たりとも転がり込んでこない。我々は全員が共犯でなくてはならないのだ。
But then afterwards, are they gonna really hide it? For example, will Yamamoto, what do you call this? Would he really do it? For example, or like say he got 50%, would he really hide the other 50%? That's a big question there. Can you even trust the guy?
全員に着服の共犯になれと言ってる。周囲はすでに軍人としてでなく個人として話をしている。
I like how, like back then, there's embezzlement already, and then when we have our modern times with Kraus, there's also that he's been using his father's funds, right? Okay.
なんてこと。黄金に目がくらんだのね。
I mean, that's gold, man. People will be blinded by then. Lieutenant Yamamoto was grinning. It really did look as though he had been blinded by greed, just as Beatrice said.
あのまま山積みにしていれば、やがて本土から来る向かいの連中の目にいやおうなく入るだろう。そうなれば、ここにいる誰もが得をしないぞ。我々の申し出を受けて、早急に黄金を隠すべきだ。
アンジェロ少尉は日本政府やイタリア政府にはどうしても知られたくないみたい。彼は自分が与えられた任務に最後まで責任を持ちたいみたいよ。
つまりどういうことだ。
何割かを口止め料として与えてでも島内に地中深く埋めることを望んでるわ。もちろん下士官たちには異論もあるみたい。5割は問題外だと憤慨してるわ。
後宮、イタリア人たちの感触はどうだ。
彼らも黄金がこれ以上の人目につくことを望んでいないようです。しかし取り分に異論があるようです。
少尉は1割ならば検討できると言ってるわ。
10%.
無論山本中尉がそれで納得しないだろうとも言ってるけど。
I mean, yes, he's not gonna accept that.
後宮、イタリア人の返事はいかに。
1割なら検討すると。
This time, it was Lieutenant Yamamoto who slammed down on the desk. But the Italians didn't flinch either. An incredible tension filled the small room. However, despite his violent outburst a second ago, Lieutenant Yamamoto's expression is still smug and in control. He was probably confident that he now had the initiative.
1割 ?1 割か。それはつつましやかな提案だ。
You know what's nice? Is them having conversations like this, having negotiations, right? And yes, in 1986, the family meeting was pretty much like this as well, right? When the siblings were negotiating with their big brother Kraus for a percentage of, I guess you say, the gold, or like all that stuff. So it mirrors what happened here to what happened in the future, correct? And yeah, it's the same gold, like this gold, and in the future, this money, this gold as well, right?
いいだろう。なら1割を譲ってやろう。
Like this gold brings nothing but, yeah, I guess, disaster. Cursed. Yeah, I mean now you could say that it's cursed, like this island.
しぶろくだ。これ以上は譲らんと伝えろ。
40% for the Japanese, 60% for the Italians. The lieutenant was talking tough, but in truth, these negotiations weren't made on equal footing. Honestly, man, if I was in this situation, I would just agree. Yeah, 60-40? I mean, that's a big trade, man. It's a big trade. But it's much better than rather than being killed by the Japanese, right? If the Italians had just wanted the gold for themselves, there would haven't been much of a problem, yeah. Sure, they will lose people if they fought, but they're gonna win because they have the numbers. They can literally just ambush them right now. But what if? What if they were true patriots and decided to return the gold for the purpose of reconstruction, even to the defeated puppet government of their homeland? If so, they would probably report the existence of the gold to the Italian embassy. Eventually, the Italian government would petition the allied nations for the retrieval of their gold. It probably wouldn't all make it back to Italy, but it might be used effectively to repair and rebuild their battered towns. If that happened, Lieutenant Yamamoto and his friends would be only able to sneak out a few ingots at most. He was greedily planning to make this his own treasure island, so that he and his subordinates could have an enormous fortune all to themselves. If he wanted to succeed, the Italians would have to keep the presence of the gold quiet.
しかし疑問だ。アンジェロ少尉が誰にも黄金を渡したくないなら、沈みゆく潜水艦に任せて沈めればよかったはず。
I mean, I guess yeah, that's one way, right?
どうして荷上げを？
考えたくはないけれど。
But yeah, I was gonna say Butler is correct. But yeah, Kinzo is correct here. Why? If they had it sink, no one would find the gold and they could just come back to it, right, in the future?
命令が遂行不能になった時点で、少尉はこの黄金を横領することを考え始めたのかも。
Okay.
彼は今、下士官たちに軍人としての意見と。
So the other guy has plans of stealing it as well. That's why. So yeah, greed. Greed is not good, guys.
祖国に家族が待つ一個人としての意見を聞きたいと言っているわ。堅物の下士官たちが激高してる。
The discussion between the Italians were becoming fierce and emotional. Though their homeland had fallen, they had come all this way in accordance with its orders. They'd probably been given this mission because they were particularly faithful and duty-minded troops. It seemed that they couldn't just agree to a foreigner's proposal to embezzle and split up the gold. Lieutenant Angelo looked like he was doing all he could to calm the unexpectedly fervent rage of his subordinates. Looks like the gold is blinding them too. Everyone mixing up their true feelings with how they want to be seen and they can't make up their minds.
奴らの返答はいかに？後ろ宮！
B ちゃん、周囲が返事を求めてる。
考える時間が欲しいと言ってるわ。私はあなたと話せたから気が紛れてよかったけれど、他の人たちはそうじゃないの。とても長い航海の果てに大勢の仲間を失って極限状態でここにいるわ。唯一の心の拠り所だった任務ももはや喪失してる。どうすればいいのか彼らも分かってないの。
注意。彼らは時間が欲しいと言っています。
いいとも。大いに議論したらいい。しかし時間はないぞ。隠すとなったら時間と手間がかかる。明日の正午までに結論しろ。以上だ、イタリア人ども。
回答期限は明日の正午だそうだ。周囲め、まるで脅迫だ。
少尉は全員の意見を聞くと言ってるわ。
感触は？
多分 難航するわ。少尉自身は山分けもあり得ると考えてるみたいだけど、下士官や他の仲間たちは多分反対するわ。みんなこの極東までの航海で大切な仲間を大勢失ってる。
The thing is, you've lost friends already. Do you want to lose yourself as well?
彼らは堅なに祖国への忠誠を貫きたがってる。
注意の申し出は断ると。
断ってもどうせ黄金は誰かの手に渡るわ。何も残らないならせめてインゴットの一本ずつでも密かに持ち帰ろうという少尉の言い分に同調者も出そうだけど。
If nothing is going to be left anyway, Lieutenant Angelo suggests that they each sneak at least one ingot back with them, and some of the others seem to agree. I mean, yeah.
こういう時の男って勢いだけが迷走するわ。
I mean, it's because of the greed. Yeah, the greed.
私も見当がつかない。イタリア人たちの胸中は複雑でしょうね。
彼らにとって降伏後のイタリアは敵国同然だろう。黄金をそのイタリアに返還するのは彼らの長い旅路を全て否定するのと同じだ。
しかし黄金を着服して山分けすることも彼らの旅路の否定になります。
彼らが義理立てすべき祖国はすでに滅んでいる。その時点で彼らの旅路の意味などもう失われている。気の毒な話だ。
どうせ意味のないことならインゴットの一本でもありつけた方がまだマシだと。
損得感情で言えばそうなる。そうならねえのが男ってもんだがな。
Men aren't like that. Either get everything or nothing at all. The Italians were gathered in a cramped room, arguing fiercely.
反対です。死んだ戦友たちのためにも断固軍人魂を貫くべきです。
貫くとはどういうことか。この島に黄金を隠せということか。
Yeah, what is the meaning of remaining true?
東洋人たちの申し出を受けるということか。
東洋人たちは信用できません。特にあの山本という男、断じて油断できません。
黄金を荷上げして日本人たちに見られたのはやはり失敗でした。艦と共に沈めるべきでした。
日本人の基地で沈めてどうする。やがていつかは引き上げられる。
I mean, it would have been pulled up, but maybe in the future, not now.
隠したことにはならない。いずれにせよこの島から黄金を誰にも知られずに運び出す方法はない。
洋上で名誉ある自鎮を選んでいたらこんなことには。
艦のダメージが致命的だったことがあの時点で分かっていたら、どうしてあの時少佐は日本軍に救援要請を。日本軍にこの黄金のことを知られたら少佐はどう任務を遂行するつもりだったんだ。
少佐が救援要請を出した時点で我々の任務はもう失敗していたんだ。諸君にも祖国で待つ家族がいるはずだ。そして極東の島国までよく航海に耐えた。それに対するこれは正当な報酬なのだという考え方もある。
あの時日本人に助けなど求めていなかった。
Okay, I got kind of scared there.
死んだ戦友たちが浮かばれてこんな目に。
Like all of them were just shouting at each other.
少尉、日本人が友好的でない場合、我々は最終的解決手段を辞さない覚悟が必要です。
伍長、最終的解決手段とは何か。
Extreme measures meaning, yeah, they need to fight. Someone gulped. A stiff tension hung over the room.
日本人たちはたるみ切っています。
Our pushovers.
実戦経験もない 腰抜けばかりです。我々は聖兵です。
So I guess what they're saying is they need to strike right now. Yeah, just take care of all of them.
すでに基地内の間取りのほぼ全てと日本人の人数、配置状況は把握しています。少尉の命令があれば短時間で制圧できるでしょう。戦闘員と思わしきは山本を含めて数人程度。残りは軍属の作業員風情です。上辺の人数は日本人が上ですが、実質兵力ではこちらが優位です。
日本人を殺せば迎えの船が来た時それをどう説明する？ごまかしようがないぞ。
死体さえ見つからなければどうとでもごまかせます。少尉、この基地を制圧するのは容易です。山本以下主要な兵士数人を殺してみせればあっさりと作業員たちは降伏するでしょう。彼らに黄金を運ばせ地中に埋めましょう。もちろん彼らの口は永遠に塞ぎますが、
日本人たちを皆殺しにするということか。
殺しましょう。全員殺せば黄金のことは誰にも知られずに済むのです。
At the moment, the supposedly locked door opened slightly and the metal object was thrown in. Wait, was someone... What? Throw a grenade?
Granada!
Someone did that. As the yell rang out, the table was kicked over to be used as a shield and they all dropped to the floor. However, in this cramped room, it probably wouldn't do them any good. The Italians were all prepared for death. Why is it a dud? Okay, it's a dud. Fortunately, the shoddy grenade was a dud. The door was slammed open and 3 Japanese soldiers wielding pistols jumped in. So for them, they were thinking of things to do, but the Japanese are much more faster than them. In the small room, no matter who shot where, it was bound to hit someone. The exchange of bullets instantly caused a rain of blood with casualties on both sides. The 3 who had jumped in were covered with bullet holes and fell over moaning and thrashing.
Gino! Gino! くそ、肺をやられてる。助からない。
They got Gino. No.
こんな犠牲だ。あの手榴弾が不発でなかったら全員死んでる。
The grenade was still rolling about on the floor. It had been a surprise attack. Imagine if that thing still exploded. It was a delay, right? Lieutenant Yamamoto had probably judged that the negotiations wouldn't go his way and had decided to make the first move. I mean, this is kind of obvious though, right? Like, not really like super obvious, but you need to prepare for something like this because, especially on the Italian side, like they're at the mercy of these Japanese people here in the island, right? They didn't really think this through. They didn't really expect, I guess, the Japanese to suddenly ambush them. Yeah, they did not expect that, and yeah, they lost people because of that. Or maybe he'd been planning from the beginning to put them in a position where they'd gathered in one place to discuss his offer. Rokinjima was their island. If they killed all the Italians, then not half, but all of the gold would go to the Japanese. Yep. There was a chance that grenade might go off late. The Italians rushed out into the corridor. They heard gunfire from down the hallway. It was coming from the direction of the submarine dock. Clearly, the troops guarding the pile of gold were being attacked.
少尉、ご命令を。やむを得ん。日本人は殺せ。
注意。あいつら敵ます。 この連中ただの船乗りじゃね
え。なるほど、黄金の番人を任されるだけの兵士ということか。人数はこちらが上だ。焦らず囲んで殺せ。イタリア人狩りだ。
As soon as I heard the sound of repeated gunfire, I knew that something which had been smoldering since the time the gold was unloaded had finally burst. The eyes of our soldiers looking at the gold hadn't been normal. Yes, those eyes had been entranced by demons. The Italians had been pushed to the limits by the heavy burden they bore. Who would have snapped after being trapped in a distant land where you can understand the language of writing? Thinking I had to do something, I ran towards the gunfire. Looking back on it, that was an extremely stupid thing to do. I mean, like you can say in movies, they always do that, right? Oh, there's gunfire there. Let's run to it. And then they get shot. That sound meant that there were people shooting at each other, people killing each other, and yet, unarmed as I was, I dashed toward the sound as though I was trying to mediate some schoolyard fight. It didn't take long before I learned how foolish and naive that was in the heat of battle.
Hiraoka Heizo!
Warrant Officer Hiraoka was lying face down, his entire body drenched in blood. No, they got Hiraoka. Gino from the Italian side and Hiraoka in the Japanese side. Judging by the trail of blood behind him, it was clear that he had somehow managed to crawl here from a different room before dying. No, he was still twitching. He might not be dead yet. But on this island without a doctor, no, even if he had a doctor, who could possibly save a man who had been shot this many times in the chest? When I looked into the room he must have crawled out of, I saw two more blood-stained Japanese corpses. Oh, look at it. Ain't this the place where the others were in episode 4, correct? I fell backwards pathetically on my butt, my mouth hanging open in shock. Come to think of it, that was the first time I had ever faced death in my life. The entire world was at war. Even though millions were dying both east and west, this was the first time I'd met with a person's death directly. Ridiculous. Didn't I join the army hoping to die? Didn't I whine about not being sent to the front lines? Yes, so rejoice, Kinzo. Isn't this the death you were looking for? Why not spread your hands and yell out loud? Come for me, oh magnificent death. Someone came running towards me. It's gonna be Biche. It was, oh no, it was a colleague of mine. I thought it was gonna be Beatrice. A Japanese man, Tajima-kun. And then it's gonna get shot. He dashed towards me, pale face and out of breath. His face seemed horribly contorted with terror. Mine probably looked the same.
Tajima-kun, 何があったんだ?
Someone yelled in Italian and at the same time, Tajima-kun let out a scream. Then he grabbed onto me as he fell to the floor. A red stain was spreading across his back before my eyes. Tajima-kun, he's gone. As he spat bubbles of blood, he said that one word and died. But the shock of seeing someone die right in front of me did not freeze my heart. At a fundamental level, all living things are unconcerned with the deaths of others. The one thing that matters is whether they themselves die or not. It was the barrel of the gun the Italian soldier was pointing that froze my heart. Tajimakun's back burst once more as he leaned against me. Flesh tore, blood splattered. The warm splash of it covered my face. Was the Italian still trying to finish him off, even though he had stopped moving for good? How foolish I've been. Can I still not understand the scene in front of me? Rejoice, Kinzo. Now you'll finally get what you wanted all this time. The Italian hadn't fired to finish off Tajima-kun. He had been aiming at the man Tajima-kun had fallen on, me, Ushirimiya Kinzo. I pushed his corpse aside, scrabbled against the floor, and dashed away, tumbling over myself. My hands had pushed off against the floor hard enough to tear off the ring finger or fingernail on my left hand. When faced with death, humans really can resist with all they got. I tumbled over and over as I ran, scraping up parts of my body. It was painful, hot, but it didn't matter at all. I heard the yelling in Italian come from behind me over and over again. It felt like they were running, chasing after me. I didn't want to look back, so I kept running on, running and running as though the Italians were right behind me. This is death. Didn't you want to die? No, I don't want to die. Why? Didn't I want to die so badly? But now I know. I know how wonderful it is to be alive. She taught me. Beecha did. I can only be free when I talk with her. No. By talking with her, I finally came alive for the first time. I was born. I want to live. I want to live. I don't want to die. I want to live and see her right now. If I don't see her, I'll die. I'll be killed. Stay cool, Kinzo. She might be killed too. If you live and she dies, you might as well be dead. Before I knew it, my face was covered in tears, snot, and saliva. But yeah, with Kinzo facing death for the first time in his life, it gave him, I guess, what do you call this? Fortitude? What is the word? But yeah, now he wants to be alive. He wanted to die, and then when it's time to die, and he faced it, he got scared and was like, ow, I want to live instead. When I stumbled into something and fell, I was finally able to come to my senses a little. I could still hear intermittent gunfire. The gunfight was still going on. And it had spread out through the entire base. Are you okay? I'll find her and take her to a safe place. The lieutenant will probably kill all the Italians to steal the gold. Beecha probably won't be an exception.
Beecha. Beecha.
I live for the first time after meeting you. I was born, so if you die, I'll die again. I could feel every cell in my body being reborn, not as Ushirimiya Kinzo, but as a completely different Kinzo. Of course, I was terrified that I might really be shot if I went back, but I didn't want to die anymore. To truly die, so I was able to overcome my fear. Okay, what's gonna happen now?
ルーベンス、
Rubens?
一体何が起こってるの？この騒ぎは何？
君は知らなくていい。そこにじっと隠れていろ。同胞が呼びかけるまで出てくるんじゃない。
イタリア人の声が聞こえた。そこにいるぞ。
くそ、誰東洋人め。
Rubens stood with Beatrice behind his back and neatly shot the two men rushing at him with two 9mm bullets from his Beretta M1934. However, one of the 8mm bullets from their Type 94 semi-auto pistol went straight into Rubens' chest. No, Rubens. We got Gino Rubens on this side, they're gone now. All three of the shooters were struck in the chest and fell down in a heap.
しっかりして！ルーベンス！
地上へ逃げろ。森の中へ隠れ。
おやおや、賑やかではないか。
The next person to appear was the commanding officer of the Japanese soldiers, Yamamoto. The blast of the three guns had just sounded. Adding on Beatrice's screams, it was hardly surprising that he had noticed the encounter.
こんなことなら最初からこの女を人質に取ればよかった。くそいまいましい連中だ。
Yamamoto spat. Beatrice used a moment to snatch up Ruben's gun.
「躊躇なく銃を拾おうとするとは。イタリア女は実に物騒だ。くそ、二人がかりでしくじりやがって。」
He spat this last part at the two dying men who lay moaning at his feet. However, what happened to them wasn't particularly surprising. It wasn't the first time it happened either. In this tiny cramped tunnel, nearly everyone had met head-on. When both sides shot recklessly in such a situation, the result was two corpses. So whoever sends another person and pull the trigger quickest won. That was the only way to survive this battle without a bullet in your chest. Because of this, both Japanese and Italians had killed each other without hesitation, and they sometimes even pulled trigger on incoming allies. In the midst of all of this were several Japanese men who had stumbled into the fight wondering what was going on. It didn't matter whether the other person was holding a gun or not. Everyone had reflexively pulled the trigger at the sight of anyone other than themselves trying to stay alive. The entire base had been wrapped up in this slaughter. There was a fierce gun battle taking place on the submarine dock, and a massacre resembling a hunt was taking place inside the base. Most of the non-combatants assigned to this base were killed before they knew what was going on. The Italians were indeed quite seasoned troops, but their numbers began to drop bit by bit. Blood-stained corpses were scattered everywhere. At first, it had probably been a proper fight or gunfight. However, as their minds began to grow weary and numb, it evolved into that most basic cause of wars throughout humanity, the desire to kill all foreigners who don't understand. Whenever they heard the words they didn't understand, they pulled the trigger. By that point, the screams of the foreigners sounded no different from those man-shaped beasts. After all, they couldn't understand pleading in another language. So it had long ago turned into a mere massacre. As the number of dead surpassed the number of living, silence began to return to the base. Just when it felt as though everyone had died and you could hear the desolate sound of the wind blowing through the caves, there would be a sudden scream and the crisp sound of a gun, and you'd remember that the massacre wasn't over yet. This happened over and over again, and eventually, true silence fell. It marked the pitiful end for those led astray by the gold. Is over? The leader of the Italian soldiers, Angelo, had managed to survive somehow. Of course, they need him and Yamamoto have their final duel. He encountered nothing but the corpses of friend and foe. All was quiet once more in the base. If he was careless enough to call out, he might be shot from the shadows somewhere. So he snuck about like a panther, breathing quietly and searching for the remaining enemies. There was no sign or trace of any living person. Maybe all of the people in this base had died. The Japanese struck first, but at the time we were also talking about killing them. They simply made the first move as military men. So perhaps we should be grateful for this day. Even if the boat had come to pick us up, there wouldn't have been no honor left for us. We would have been mere failures in our mission, unfit to face our dead comrades. Perhaps dying here in the Far East alongside my gun is a more fitting end for a soldier. I noticed the sound of shuffling feet coming from around the corner and strained to hear. Is someone seriously wounded and dragging their feet? Noticing them before they notice me greatly helps my chances. At this stage, there is no point in taking prisoners. We must dispose of all the Japanese. I'll dash around the corner, quickly check to see who they are, and shoot if it's Japanese. Nothing more. I've been hiding my footsteps the whole time. They probably don't know I'm hiding here. Once the shuffling footsteps had come to a close, Angelo leaned around the corner and raised his gun. The voice that reached him spoke Italian. It's Beatrice, it's Bice.
逃げて
貴様
Wait, shut
貴様を探していたぞ、アンジェロ少尉。
Oh, so Yamamoto was there.
これで全員だな。
So he was, I guess, using Beatrice as a hostage. Yes. A shield, basically.
俺はしっかり貴様らの死体を数えて回ってたんだからな。
しっかりしてアンジェロ少尉
Blood poured from Angelo's chest. His gun fell to the floor, and then his knees and the rest of his body crumpled and stopped moving. Yamamoto's accuracy with a gun wasn't particularly stellar. However, Angelo had waited until they were fairly close before jumping out, so Yamamoto had made the shot. He had managed to hit even with a short-barreled handgun in one hand and a woman as a hostage in the other.
それにしても我が六軒島守備隊の情けないことよ。まさか私以外は全員死んだのではあるまいな。やれやれクズどもめ。
女を盾に取らなきゃ戦えない人でなし。離して。
静かにしろ。イタリア女は実に騒がしい。おとなしくしてれば命までは取らんというのに。
It was such an obvious line that even he wore a bitter smile. The Italians were spies working for the enemy, and they all died along with the garrison in a gunfight. Since this was the story Yamamoto wanted to tell, he couldn't afford to have any Italian survivors. By this point, he wouldn't be able to keep the entire pile of gold, but he should be able to grab as many as he could carry. Even that would be worth a huge amount of money. Beatrice suddenly swung her head, smashing Yamamoto's nose hard.
こんなクソ甘
She almost managed to escape. However, Yamamoto quickly grabbed her leg and tripped her. She fell onto her back, and Yamamoto mercilessly stomped his foot down on her stomach and pointed his gun at her.
じゃじゃ馬を飼いならす趣味はないのでな。貴様は死ねえ。
注意、彼女は無関係だ。離してやれ。
Kinzo had jumped out from the shadows. He was holding a gun he had stolen from one of the corpses.
後ろ宮か。ほう、生きておったか。
彼女を離せ。苦しがってる。
貴様であろう。イタリア人どもに攻撃があることを密告したのは。
何の話だ。
Yamamoto didn't know that the grenade had been a dud. He had been sure that the surprise attack would work, but it hadn't. So he'd assumed that Kinzo must have tipped them off. So he thinks Kinzo is a
貴
traitor
様
now.
のせいで奇襲が失敗してこのざまだ。この裏切り者め。貴様がこのイタリア女を通じて内通していたことはお見通しよ。
あなたが黄金に目がくらんだからこの事態を招いたのではないのか。
逃げて金蔵。この男は命乞いしてる人も撃ったわ。あなたも撃たれる。
喋るなイタリア女。もう一度口を聞いたら容赦なく撃つぞ。
Yamamoto ground his heel into Beatrice's gut.
よせ、やめろ。彼女は何の関係もない。
ああ？銃を上官に向けるとはどういうつもりか。頭を冷やせよ愚か者め。私とお前で口裏を合わせればあの黄金の山は私たちだけのものではないか。私一人では少々をくすねるくらいしかできんが、お前と二人でなら もっと多くの数をくすねることができる。上官面をするつもりはないぞ。男同士二人できっちり山分けしようじゃないか。
五分五分に分けようと言ってあなたは彼らの寝首をかこうとしたのではないのか。
後ろ宮、どうやら貴様は黄金より鉛の方がお好みらしいな。
Without any hesitation, Yamamoto raised the barrel of his gun towards Kinzo and pulled the trigger. It grazed Kinzo's ear. If Yamamoto's aim had been just a bit better, the bullet would have slammed into Kinzo's face.
Kinzo! よくも
貴様、
Not letting Yamamoto's momentary distraction go to waste, Beatrice lashed out and planted her right foot in Yamamoto's crutch. After moaning in pain, a demonic expression flashed across Yamamoto's face and he stomped on her chest. No.
ビーチェ、
このクソアマが死ね
Beatrice shut her eyes tightly, hoping that she could withstand the coming pain. No one wants to watch the moment they get shot. He died because he was greedy, yeah. All of them, I mean. A blood splash poured out of Yamamoto's chest.
あんたがあんたの都合で大勢の命を奪ったように、私も私の都合であんたの命を奪う。
Could Yamamoto hear Kinzo's words until the end? In his last moments, he seemed to grin. Then slowly he fell backwards with a spurt of blood. It's over. No one is left except these two.
金蔵、無事なの？てっきりあなたが撃たれたと。
Beatrice tried to stand up, but then doubled over and started coughing.
ビーチェ、怪我をしたのか？
あばらが痛むわ。その人でなしが激しく踏んだものだから。
大丈夫か？折れていなければいいんだが。
これくらいで折れるほどイタリア女はやわじゃないの。でもありがとう。あなたは命の恩人だわ。あなたが来なければ私はきっとそこに転がっていたわ。
Yamamoto had shown no mercy. Her ribs were probably cracked. We didn't have the option of waiting, possibly for several days, for the ship that was coming. So I made the decision to carry her away from the island. The man who kept yelling about preserving the secrecy of the base is lying there dead. The next island over is in Nijima. I mean, it's pretty close, yes. A small boat should be more than enough to get us there.
君を病院へ運ばなければならない。君が思っているより傷が深かったらいけない。
知らなかった。この島には病院もあるのね。
ない。隣の島へ船で運ぶ。君は病院へ。私はこの島での出来事をうまく片付けないととばっちりで 軍法会議者だ。
So let me guess. In this hospital, he's gonna meet one of our oldest friends in this game. He's probably gonna meet Nanjo, right? For sure.
頼みがあるの。私を病院へ連れて行かないで。
どうして？
病院へ行って大使館に連絡が行けば、私はやがて本国へ送還されるわ。
Oh. So okay, so I guess Nanjo is not in a hospital, is in a clinic. Yes, smaller one.
そしてきっとあれこれと尋問を受けるんだわ。私はママを見殺しにした奴らを自分の祖国とは認めないの。
I'll be interrogated about all kinds of things. I won't acknowledge the bastards who let Mama die.
もう私の帰るべき祖国はないの。ここが私の終点。だからもう私はどこへも行きたくないの。私に優しくしてくれたアンジェロ少尉もルーベンスもみんな死んでしまった。
だから君までここで死ぬと？イタリア女はヤワじゃないんだろ？生きるんだ。
ねえ金蔵、生きるってどういう意味？あなたが教えてくれたはずよ。生きるってのはただ息をすることじゃないわ。私はイタリアへ帰りたくないの。
ビーチェ。
あなたは私と出会うまで死んでいたと言ってくれたわ。でもそれは私も同じなの。潜水艦の中で私は死んでいた。祖国も滅び、ママも死んだ。パパもね。私はこんな船沈んでしまえと願ったわ。だからここにたどり着いた時、実は死に損ねたとがっかりした。その矢先よ。少尉が英語がわかる者はいるかと騒ぎ出したのは。
When Kinzo met Beatrice, he finally forgot about dying. And when Beatrice met Kinzo, she also forgot about dying.
私は祖国も家族も友人たちも失った私をあなたにさらってほしいと願うの。
ピーチェ。
でもそれは叶えられない望みだとも分かってる。ならばせめて迎えの船が来るまでの数日間をあなたと一緒にいたいの。胸の痛みなんて気にしない。だって迎えの船に連れ去られたら私はもう死んでしまうのだから。
Beatrice spoke this, smiling softly. She did her best to hide the pain in her chest.
お願い、金蔵。迎えが来るまでの数日間でいいから私をさらって。
その願いは叶えられない。
Looking apologetic, Kinzo lifted Beato up and gently sat her in the boat.
育児なし。やっぱり日本の男は軟弱だわ。
そうだな。 私は育児なしだ。だから君の願いは片方しか叶えられない。
With a clunk, he placed it wrapped in a jacket in the boat. He placed it? What?
片方とは？
迎えが来るまでの数日間でいいから。
Until the boat comes from you, or comes for you.
の方は叶えられないということさ。
どういう意味？
君をさらう。そっちを叶えることにした。
金蔵。
So I guess that the term he used is kidnapping you. There has to be a Dr. Onijima. I'm wearing a Navy uniform. I should be able to pass myself off as a survivor of a boat carrying a VIP that was sunk by enemy ships. If the doctor happens to be of the greedy sort, all the better. So yeah, I guess the thing he put in the boat and he said wrapped it is, yeah, one gold bar probably. After all, I have right here the golden magic to make people do what I say. The golden magic. The power of money. Wealth. A witch from a distant country took my lifeless body and gave me a soul. A woman came to me with gold and revived me with her magic.
君は魔女だな。黄金の魔女だ。
So yeah, I guess this is how the legend of the Golden Witch started.
黄金の魔女よ。みんなと同じレシピで作ってるのに、私だけがパスタから消し炭を生み出す錬金術が使えるの。あなたと同じく私も、あなたがいてくれる限り生きることを許される屍。あなたがいなくなったら私はすぐにでも死んでしまう。
死なせない。
本当に？
絶対に。
だってね。だってあなたは私をさらったんだから。
I mean, I guess their backstory was pretty good though, right? Yeah, how the Golden Witch happened, all that stuff.
そうですか。
Okay, so let's take a break here. But yeah, I guess that backstory or the story for the gold, for Kinzo, for Beatrice's love story was, yeah, it was a, how to say, a disaster? I mean, a disaster because, yeah, a lot of people died, I mean, fighting for a gold because of their greed, right? And I guess that's how their love story started. Love story, and then the legend of the Golden Witch also. Imagine if this just continued, right? If she didn't die. But then again, he was married though, so I don't know. Let's see. Are they gonna show us? I mean, how she, like, maybe how she died, right? We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, we can see how Kinzo, like, I guess really cared for her. So, I mean, when seeing all these backstories, so I guess when she died, you can see his obsession, right? Like, he wanted to die in the first place. He wanted to go. His life, he doesn't care about his life. But once he met this person, he became different, right? He had purpose now to live. And this said person, well, we can say that, yeah, she died and was gone, and he was doing everything he can to bring her back. And I mean, that's not an excuse, of course, right? For what he did with Coador and Beatrice. I mean, yeah, of course it's not an excuse. But what I'm saying is, I guess that's why you can say he doesn't really care about all his other kids. He only cared about one person. Like based on this backstories that we've seen here, and then yeah, of course, how he treated his other kids in the other episodes, right? He only cared about one person, and it was Beatrice. He didn't care about Kraus, he didn't care about Ava, George, Jessica, his grandkids. He didn't care about any of them. Butler, Rudolph. It was always Beatrice. Rosa, Maria. He didn't care about all of them. Only that one person. So yeah, I mean, it was just nice seeing his backstory, really. And how it really happened. How all of it happened. How the gold. The history of the gold. I mean, it's like its history is covered in blood. I guess that amount of gold. Yeah, I mean, not just that battle, right? But I mean, if you have that insane amount of gold, that came from somewhere, and yeah, it's good. We'll see. We'll see what happens next time. I guess we're done with Kinzo's backstory, at least for now. But hopefully they continue it. I mean, I want to see how Beatrice Castiglione, how she died. Maybe that injuries was far too severe. Like Yamamoto stepping on her. Maybe that happened. But who knows. But yeah, she did have a baby though. Right? Coadori and Beatrice. So we'll see. We'll find out. Anyways, we are gonna continue this and do more of Umineko When They Cry. Episode number 7 in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye bye.